In the distant future, humanity had spread across the stars like scattered seeds in a cosmic wind. Among these far-flung colonies was a small mining outpost orbiting a dying red star, where life was hard and freedom harder still. The outpost's inhabitants toiled day and night under the iron rule of corporate overlords who saw them as little more than walking machines. It was here that a young man named Eric found himself sold into servitude after an unfortunate series of events involving unpaid debts and misplaced trust. Eric wasn't particularly remarkable at first glance. Average height, brown hair perpetually tousled from long hours working in zero gravity, and eyes that seemed to hold both dreams and disappointments in equal measure. But beneath this unassuming exterior beat the heart of a survivor, someone who'd learned early on how to navigate the treacherous waters of interstellar politics with quick wit and quicker feet. His resourcefulness caught the attention of Lady Zyranath, the newly ascended queen of the Zorathian Empire, during one of her rare diplomatic visits to human territories. The Zorathians were a species of breathtaking beauty and terrifying power. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their crystalline skin refracted light into mesmerizing patterns, while their elongated limbs moved with fluid grace. Lady Zyranath bore all these traits in abundance, but carried herself with an additional air of regal authority that commanded respect even from the most hardened spacefarers. Her arrival at the mining station caused quite a stir among the local officials, eager to impress their influential visitor with gifts worthy of her station. Thus it came to pass that Eric, bound by chains both literal and metaphorical, stood before the alien queen alongside other offerings intended to curry favor with the powerful monarch. While others trembled or attempted futile displays of bravado, Eric maintained a steady gaze, his mind racing through possibilities faster than any quantum computer. He knew better than to show fear. Instead, he focused on observing every detail about the imposing figure before him. From the subtle shifts in her iridescent skin to the way her multifaceted eyes seemed to pierce straight through pretense. What neither Eric nor anyone else present could have anticipated was the spark of curiosity that flickered in Lady Zyranath's expression as she studied the human slave. Perhaps it was his quiet defiance, or maybe something deeper stirred within her ancient soul. Whatever the reason, when she extended one elegant hand toward him, indicating her choice, those watching exchanged confused glances. Human slaves were common enough, certainly not rare treasures typically reserved for royal collections. Yet there was no denying the queen's decision, nor questioning its wisdom. As guards led Eric away from the auction platform, he couldn't help but wonder what fate awaited him now. Would he become just another bauble in the queen's vast collection, forgotten among countless other trophies? Or did this unexpected turn hold greater significance yet unseen? Little did he know, his journey was only beginning, a path destined to intertwine two vastly different worlds in ways neither could have imagined. The transition from mining outpost to royal palace proved more disorienting than Eric had anticipated. The Zorathian flagship, Luminara's Embrace, dwarfed anything he'd ever seen, its crystalline structure shimmering like a living jewel against the void of space. As they traversed its corridors, Eric marveled at how the ship seemed alive, its walls pulsing with soft, rhythmic lights that responded to their passage. The queen's attendants, equally striking in their translucent forms, regarded him with expressions ranging from disdain to cautious interest. Lady Zyranath wasted no time in establishing her expectations. "You are not like the others," she declared during their first private audience, her voice resonating with harmonics that made Eric's bones vibrate. "Most humans cower or posture when faced with my kind. You simply observed." She circled him like a predator evaluating its prey, though her movements held none of the menace implied by the comparison. "Tell me, human, what is your value beyond mere survival?" Eric swallowed hard, choosing his words carefully. "I'm not sure I understand the question, Your Majesty. To survive is everything where I come from." "Ah, but survival can be so pedestrian," she countered, her crystalline fingers tracing patterns in the air between them. "My people have mastered survival for millennia. What interests me is what comes after: creation, destruction, transformation. Which of these paths do you walk?" Her question struck deeper than any physical examination ever could. Over the following days, Eric found himself subjected to a series of tests that defied conventional understanding. In one chamber, he faced holographic recreations of historical conflicts, demonstrating strategic thinking that surprised even himself. In another, he worked alongside Zorathian artisans, his hands proving unexpectedly adept at manipulating their complex crystalline tools. The Queen watched each session with growing intensity, her multifaceted eyes reflecting emotions Eric couldn't quite decipher. Life aboard the royal vessel proved a delicate dance of cultural misunderstandings and surprising connections. When presented with traditional Zorathian garments, flowing robes that shifted colors based on emotional state, Eric accidentally triggered a riot of hues during a formal dinner, causing several courtiers to choke on their laughter-essence beverages. Rather than punishing him, Lady Xyranath joined in the mirth, her own attire shifting through a spectrum of amused purples. Their interactions took on a rhythm of their own, oscillating between formal protocol and increasingly personal exchanges. During one memorable conversation in the observation deck, where nebulae painted the windows in cosmic watercolors, Eric shared stories of Earth's oceans, a concept utterly foreign to the crystalline beings who had evolved in low-gravity environments. The Queen listened with rapt attention, her form actually swaying slightly as if imagining waves crashing against shores. Yet for every moment of connection, there were reminders of the vast gulf between them. When Eric instinctively reached out to touch a particularly beautiful crystal formation in the Queen's private garden, alarms blared throughout the ship, and armed guards materialized from hidden alcoves. Lady Xyranath intervened before anyone could act, explaining that certain crystals were sacred repositories of ancestral memories, their surfaces too sensitive for casual contact. The incident left Eric shaken, reminding him that despite their growing familiarity, he remained fundamentally an outsider in this glittering world. Through these experiences, a peculiar dynamic emerged. Eric stopped thinking of himself merely as property and began to see himself as a participant in something larger, though he couldn't yet define what that something might be. Meanwhile, Lady Xyranath found herself increasingly drawn to the human's perspective, which offered angles of insight her own people had long since smoothed away in pursuit of perfection. Their relationship hovered on the edge of transformation, neither master-slave nor equals, but something entirely new and undefined. News of the Queen's unusual interest in her human acquisition spread through the empire like a prismatic wave, coloring the court's social dynamics with shades of intrigue and resentment. The Zorathian nobility, whose crystalline forms traditionally reflected purity of bloodline and status, struggled to comprehend their ruler's fascination with a being composed of such mundane organic matter. Chief among the dissenters was Lord Valenthor, the Queen's designated consort and heir apparent, whose normally serene surface developed jagged fissures of displeasure whenever Eric entered a room. Lord Valenthor's objections manifested in increasingly creative attempts to undermine Eric's position. During a ceremonial feast where liquid light flowed in streams across crystalline tables, he arranged for Eric's chair to transform into a display of embarrassing human mating rituals. Instead of humiliating him, the prank backfired spectacularly when Eric, recognizing elements of Zorathian courtship behavior in the holograms, pointed out the similarities to the assembled nobility. The resulting laughter created fractures in several elderly council members' crystalline forms, requiring immediate medical attention. The political implications grew more complex when representatives from neighboring systems arrived for trade negotiations. Ambassador Silrana of the Aquatic Luminari questioned whether a human's presence in the royal court indicated a shift in Zorathian policy toward organic species. Her bioluminescent tendrils pulsed with skepticism as she addressed the Queen. Might we expect similar gifts from our own territories? The question hung in the air like charged particles before a storm, until Eric interjected with a diplomatic response that acknowledged both the insult and the opportunity, earning him a subtle nod of approval from Lady Xyranath. Within the court itself, factions formed around the issue of Eric's status. Some, like Lady Teramin, saw potential in embracing different perspectives, while others viewed his presence as a contamination of Zorathian purity. The debates often spilled into physical manifestations, with crystal formations throughout the palace responding to emotional currents by shifting colors dramatically. On one occasion, the grand audience chamber transformed into a kaleidoscope of conflict hues, forcing an emergency adjournment until tempers cooled. Most challenging were the religious implications. The Crystal Conclave, guardians of Zorathian spiritual traditions, expressed concern that Eric's influence might disrupt the delicate balance of memory crystals that preserved their history. High Priestess Kael'Vira requested a private audience with the Queen, during which she presented a vision of fractured lineage stones and disrupted ancestral pathways. Yet even she couldn't deny the unprecedented resonance Eric's presence created in the sacred crystals, suggesting a deeper connection than mere coincidence. Through these trials, Eric discovered that his role extended beyond personal survival or even pleasing the Queen. Each interaction, Each challenge navigated successfully, subtly shifted perceptions across the empire. When he assisted in mediating a border dispute between two noble houses by drawing parallels to Earth's international diplomacy, many began to see value in his outsider perspective. The Queen noted these changes with satisfaction, understanding that her decision to keep Eric close was creating ripples that would reshape their society in ways both predictable and unforeseen. The tension between tradition and innovation reached a boiling point during the Festival of Refraction, an annual celebration where Zorathians honored their ancestors by aligning their crystalline bodies with specific stellar patterns. As the ceremony approached, the court buzzed with speculation about Eric's participation. Lord Valenthor publicly argued that allowing a human to take part would desecrate the sacred event, while Lady Terramin championed the idea as a demonstration of Zorathian adaptability. Lady Xyranath made her decision known during a pre-festival gathering in the Celestial Garden. As the assembled nobles watched, she approached Eric and placed upon his forehead a crystalline circlet that immediately began to pulse with colors never before seen in Zorathian ceremonies. "Our traditions evolve," she announced, her voice carrying through the chamber like a symphony of breaking glass. "They do not break." The statement sent shockwaves through the court, crystalline forms shifting in agitation as nobles processed the implications. During the actual festival, positioned among the ancient alignment stones, Eric found himself experiencing something extraordinary. As the stellar patterns aligned, the circlet on his head began to resonate with the surrounding crystals, creating harmonics that caused the entire formation to illuminate in unprecedented ways. The assembled Zorathians gasped as their ancestors' memories, usually displayed in predictable sequences, unfolded in complex new patterns, revealing aspects of their history previously obscured. Even the skeptical Lord Valenthor found himself transfixed as hidden connections between Zorathian lineages became visible, suggesting alliances and influences that had been lost to time. This revelation sparked heated debates throughout the empire. Religious scholars scrambled to interpret the new information, while political factions used the discoveries to strengthen or challenge existing power structures. The Crystal Conclave convened emergency sessions to study the phenomenon, their initial resistance giving way to cautious enthusiasm as they uncovered evidence of ancient Zorathian interactions with carbon-based life forms, interactions that had been deliberately erased from official records. For Eric, the experience proved transformative. The circlet, originally intended as a symbol of inclusion, revealed itself to be something more profound. Its unique resonance suggested a deep compatibility between human neural patterns and Zorathian crystalline structures, hinting at possibilities neither species had considered before. Lady Xyranath watched these developments with growing interest, her feelings for Eric evolving from simple curiosity to something more complex and potentially dangerous for both their positions. The situation reached crisis proportions when a faction of traditionalists, led by High Elder Sindar, attempted to forcibly remove Eric from the palace, claiming his presence threatened the stability of Zorathian society. The ensuing confrontation in the Grand Hall of Echoes shattered several ancient memory crystals, releasing torrents of unfiltered ancestral memories that overwhelmed everyone present. Through this chaos, Eric discovered an ability to modulate the released energies, helping to contain the psychic storm and prevent permanent damage to the collective Zorathian consciousness. This incident forced a fundamental re-evaluation of Eric's role in Zorathian society. No longer merely a human curiosity or political pawn, he had become a catalyst for change at the deepest levels of their civilization. Lady Xyranath recognized this truth during a private moment in her meditation chamber, where the walls themselves seemed to hum with anticipation of decisions yet to be made. The path forward promised to be as challenging as it was necessary, with implications that would affect not just their immediate future but potentially the course of interstellar relations for generations to come. The shifting dynamics between Eric and Lady Xyranath evolved in ways neither could have anticipated. During late-night conversations in the Queen's private observatory, where constellations danced across crystalline ceilings, their discussions moved beyond politics and protocol. Eric found himself sharing intimate details about human emotions, explaining concepts like sadness and joy through stories of his childhood on Earth. The Queen, in turn, revealed vulnerabilities about her ascension to the throne, including the pressure to maintain genetic purity in a society where such ideals often conflicted with practical governance. Their growing bond manifested in unexpected ways. When Eric fell ill with a human virus, something the Zorathian medical staff initially dismissed as impossible given their sterile environment, Lady Xyranath personally tended to him, learning about human medicine and vulnerability. Her crystalline form adapted to match his feverish temperature fluctuations, creating a visual representation of shared experience that fascinated the royal physicians. This episode marked a turning point in their relationship, as the Queen began to prioritize Eric's well-being over traditional expectations of imperial conduct. However, their connection drew increasing scrutiny from the court. Lady Teramin, who had initially supported Eric's presence, grew concerned about the Queen's obvious emotional investment. "Your Majesty," she counseled during a private audience, "the resonance between you and the human grows stronger daily. The court whispers of dependency, of imbalance in leadership." Her crystalline form rippled with anxiety as she spoke, betraying her genuine concern for the stability of the throne. These warnings coincided with mounting external pressures. Neighboring systems interpreted the Queen's attachment to Eric as a sign of weakness, leading to bold territorial claims along Zorathian borders. Trade agreements began to falter as partners questioned whether the once predictable Zorathian leadership could maintain control. Even the Crystal Conclave, which had begun to accept Eric's influence, started to push back against what they termed organic contamination of their sacred traditions. The situation reached a critical juncture when Lord Valenthor challenged Eric to a ritual duel of resonance, a traditional method of settling disputes among Zorathians. The catch: Eric would have to participate using only the crystalline circlet that had become permanently bonded to his neural pathways. Accepting meant risking his life. Refusing would shame both himself and the Queen. Lady Xyranath intervened, proposing an alternative solution that shocked the entire court. She would temporarily share her crystalline essence with Eric, allowing him to compete on equal footing. This unprecedented act of unity between species created a spectacle unlike any the Empire had witnessed. As the duel commenced, observers watched in awe as Eric's human form merged with the Queen's crystalline energy, creating patterns of light and color that defied both Zorathian and human understanding. The combat itself became secondary to the demonstration of interspecies cooperation, with each participant displaying strengths that complemented rather than competed with the other. The aftermath of the duel brought both triumph and turmoil. While Eric's performance silenced many critics and demonstrated the potential of cross-species collaboration, it also raised uncomfortable questions about the future of Zorathian leadership. Could a queen so deeply connected to a human maintain the necessary distance to govern effectively? More importantly, what did their growing bond suggest about the evolution of Zorathian society itself? Lady Xyranath wrestled with these questions during solitary moments in her private chambers, where the walls reflected not just her crystalline heritage but also the human emotions she had come to understand through Eric. Her attendants noted subtle changes in her demeanor, moments of hesitation before making decisions, increased consideration of organic perspectives in policymaking. These changes, while positive in many ways, also represented a departure from centuries of Zorathian tradition that some found unsettling. Meanwhile, Eric grappled with his own transformation. The circlet had become more than an artifact. It served as a bridge between two worlds, its constant hum of resonance connecting him to both his human roots and his adopted Zorathian family. Yet this duality came at a cost. Dreams of Earth's blue skies mingled with visions of crystalline cities, creating a mental landscape where belonging felt increasingly elusive. The Queen's affection, while genuine, sometimes felt like another layer of complexity in an already intricate existence. Their relationship continued to evolve, taking on dimensions neither had foreseen. During council meetings, Eric found himself interpreting not just language but emotional subtext, helping to navigate diplomatic crises with insights that combined human intuition and Zorathian resonance. Lady Xyranath, in turn, began incorporating human concepts of compromise and incremental progress into her leadership style, though such changes often met resistance from more traditional elements of her government. Perhaps most significantly, their bond began influencing technological and cultural developments across the empire. Scientists studying the interaction between Eric's neural pathways and Zorathian crystalline structures made breakthroughs in bio-crystalline interfaces, leading to innovations that benefited both species. Artists inspired by their Queen's unconventional relationship created works that challenged established aesthetic norms, sparking a cultural renaissance that rippled through Zorathian society. Yet for every step forward, challenges multiplied. The Empire's expansionist factions saw the Queen's attachment to Eric as an opportunity to push aggressive policies, believing her divided loyalties would prevent decisive action against border incursions. Internal security forces reported increased activity among isolationist groups plotting to separate the human influence from Zorathian society. Even among the general population, opinion remained sharply divided, with some embracing the new direction while others clung desperately to traditional values. As they navigated these complexities, Eric and Lady Xyranath found themselves facing a fundamental question. Was their relationship merely a temporary anomaly in the march of empire, or did it represent the beginning of a new chapter in Zorathian evolution? The answer, they both realized, would require sacrifices neither was fully prepared to make, and choices that would echo through the halls of power for generations to come. The crystalline corridors of the royal palace hummed with anticipation as preparations began for the upcoming galactic convergence, a summit that would bring together leaders from across known space. For Lady Xyranath and Eric, the event represented both an opportunity and a crucible, where their unique partnership would face its greatest test yet. Diplomatic protocols demanded that Eric, as the Queen's acknowledged companion, participate in formal proceedings, a requirement that set off alarm bells throughout the court's traditionalist faction. Lord Valen Thor, sensing his chance to undermine the Queen's authority, orchestrated a brilliant maneuver. He proposed a ceremonial exchange of cultural artifacts during the summit's opening gala, knowing full well that Zorathian tradition required participants to present items directly linked to their lineage. Eric, lacking any formal connection to either human or Zorathian nobility, would be forced to either decline participation or reveal his true origins, potentially shattering the careful balance of power the Queen had maintained. Lady Xyranath, however, had anticipated such moves. Working secretly with Eric, she commissioned a team of artisans to create something unprecedented, a crystalline sculpture that would serve as both a representation of Eric's human heritage and a testament to his integration into Zorathian society. The piece, titled Convergence, depicted a human figure emerging from a matrix of crystalline structures, with light patterns that shifted to reflect both species' characteristics. When unveiled during the gala, it drew gasps of appreciation from delegates across the galaxy, transforming what could have been an embarrassing moment into a diplomatic triumph. The summit's main sessions proved equally challenging. As discussions turned to trade routes and resource allocation, Eric's presence in the negotiating chamber created unexpected advantages. His human perspective helped bridge gaps between species with vastly different economic systems, while his understanding of Zorathian resonance patterns allowed him to facilitate compromises that satisfied both organic and crystalline civilizations. Several key agreements, including a groundbreaking treaty with the Luminari regarding shared asteroid mining rights, owed their success directly to his unique position. However, the summit also exposed underlying tensions within the Zorathian delegation itself. High Elder Sindar, representing the Crystal Conclave, repeatedly challenged Eric's right to speak on behalf of the Empire, arguing that his hybrid status compromised Zorathian sovereignty. These confrontations reached a peak during closed-door sessions about military cooperation, where Eric's suggestions for integrated defense strategies were met with outright hostility from traditionalist factions. The situation escalated when intelligence reports revealed that certain isolationist groups had infiltrated the summit, planning to use the event to discredit the Queen's leadership. Lady Xyranath and Eric found themselves working closely with security forces, combining human investigative techniques with Zorathian resonance detection technology to identify and neutralize threats. Their coordinated efforts prevented several potential incidents, though not without cost. The stress of maintaining such vigilance while navigating complex diplomatic waters took its toll on both. Amid these challenges, a surprising development emerged. Delegates from various species, observing the effectiveness of Eric and Lady Xyranath's partnership, began proposing similar arrangements in their own governments. The concept of resonance diplomacy gained traction, with several leaders expressing interest in establishing formal channels for cross-species collaboration. This unexpected endorsement created new opportunities but also new pressures, as the Queen and her companion found themselves becoming symbols of a movement neither had intended to lead. The summit's final days brought perhaps the most dramatic turn of events. During a presentation about advanced biocrystalline technologies, innovations directly inspired by Eric's unique physiology, a group of rogue scientists revealed classified research suggesting the human Zorathian resonance patterns might hold the key to solving the Empire's long-standing fertility crisis. The announcement sent shockwaves through the assembly, with traditionalists viewing it as confirmation of their worst fears while progressives saw it as validation of their hopes for societal evolution. As the summit concluded with mixed results, significant diplomatic achievements tempered by renewed internal divisions, Lady Xyranath and Eric retreated to the palace's highest tower. There, surrounded by panoramic views of their troubled empire, they faced the reality that their relationship had grown beyond personal affection or even political alliance. They had become architects of change on a galactic scale, their choices carrying consequences that would shape the future of multiple civilizations. The weight of this responsibility settled between them like a third presence, demanding decisions that would require both courage and sacrifice in equal measure. The convergence of human and Zorathian destinies reached a critical threshold when exploratory missions near the Empire's borders discovered ancient ruins containing evidence of previous attempts at interspecies cooperation. These findings, coupled with the revelations from the Galactic Summit, forced Lady Xyranath and Eric to confront the possibility that their relationship might be part of a larger, cyclical pattern in galactic history. Archaeological teams, working alongside researchers from both species, uncovered crystalline structures bearing unmistakable traces of organic integration, proof that their current struggles echoed similar challenges faced by civilizations long past. This discovery coincided with alarming developments within the Zorathian military. Traditionalist factions, emboldened by recent events, began consolidating power among the fleet commanders. Admiral Zhuyanthal, a decorated war hero with strong ties to isolationist groups, initiated unauthorized maneuvers along contested borders, threatening to escalate tensions with neighboring systems. His actions, while technically within regulations, carried clear political undertones, a direct challenge to the Queen's authority and her progressive policies. Simultaneously, unrest spread through the Empire's core worlds. Industrial sectors, long dominated by pure-blood Zorathians, faced increasing pressure from hybrid communities demanding equal representation. Protests erupted in major cities, with demonstrators carrying banners that incorporated both human and Zorathian symbols, a visual manifestation of the cultural fusion Eric and Lady Xyranath had inadvertently catalyzed. The Crystal Conclave responded by tightening restrictions on cross-species interactions, creating a powder keg of social tension that threatened to explode into widespread civil unrest. Against this backdrop of mounting crises, Eric experienced a profound physiological change. The crystalline circlet, now permanently fused with his neural pathways, began exhibiting properties previously unknown to either species. Medical examinations revealed that his brain chemistry was undergoing a metamorphosis, with neural patterns developing characteristics of both human and Zorathian biology. This transformation, while granting him enhanced cognitive abilities and deeper resonance with crystalline structures, also carried significant risks, including the possibility of complete neurological collapse. Lady Xyranath, recognizing the gravity of these developments, convened an emergency council that included representatives from both progressive and traditionalist factions. In a move that shocked the entire assembly, she proposed a radical restructuring of the Empire's governance system, one that would formally incorporate organic perspectives into Zorathian decision-making processes. The proposal included establishing a dual leadership model, with Eric serving as co-regent, and creating new governmental bodies specifically designed to manage cross-species affairs. The reaction to this proposal split the council along familiar lines, but with a crucial difference. Several moderate traditionalists, influenced by the archaeological evidence and the success of recent diplomatic initiatives, expressed tentative support for gradual reform. This emerging middle ground presented both opportunity and danger. While it offered a path forward, it also created new vulnerabilities that could be exploited by extremist elements on both sides. Security concerns intensified when intelligence operatives uncovered evidence of a conspiracy to assassinate both the Queen and Eric during an upcoming state visit to a border planet. The plot, masterminded by a coalition of isolationist nobles and rogue military officers, aimed to destabilize the Empire and force a return to traditional governance. The threat necessitated unprecedented cooperation between human security experts and Zorathian resonance specialists, leading to the development of innovative protective measures that blended both species' strengths. As these various threads of crisis intertwined, Eric and Lady Xyranath found themselves facing decisions that would redefine not just their relationship but the very fabric of Zorathian society. The ancient ruins suggested that previous cycles of interspecies cooperation had ultimately failed, leaving behind only cautionary tales etched in crystalline archives. Yet the current situation differed in one crucial aspect: the depth of personal connection between the Queen and her human companion, a bond forged through shared challenges and mutual growth that transcended simple political alliance. The Empire stood at a crossroads, with traditionalists warning of cultural dilution and progressives advocating for evolutionary adaptation. Military tensions simmered alongside social upheaval, while Eric's ongoing transformation raised questions about the limits of biological integration. Each decision carried cascading consequences, affecting everything from diplomatic relations to domestic policy, from scientific research to cultural identity. The Queen's proposal for reform, though controversial, represented perhaps their best chance at forging a new path, one that honored Zorathian heritage while embracing the possibilities of interspecies collaboration. In the midst of these converging crises, a realization dawned on both Eric and Lady Xyranath. Their story had grown beyond personal narrative to become a pivotal chapter in galactic history. The choices they made in the coming days would determine not just their own fates but the future trajectory of multiple civilizations. The weight of this responsibility pressed upon them like the gravity of a dying star, compressing their options while simultaneously fueling the potential for explosive change. As the Empire teetered on the brink of transformation, its fate hanging in the balance between tradition and evolution, new players entered the stage of galactic politics. From the outer reaches of uncharted space, emissaries of the mysterious Vorthani collective arrived, their amorphous forms shimmering with quantum uncertainty. Unlike any species encountered before, the Vorthani existed in a state of constant probabilistic flux, their consciousness distributed across multiple potential realities. Their sudden appearance at the Zorathian border, precisely timed with the Empire's internal crises, suggested a level of awareness that bordered on precognition. The Vorthani ambassador, designated Probability Vector 713, delivered a message that sent ripples through both Zorathian and human scientific communities. Their species had observed the unique resonance patterns generated by Eric and Lady Xyranath's bond, patterns that matched theoretical models predicting the emergence of a new form of consciousness, one capable of bridging dimensional barriers. According to Vorthani calculations, this phenomenon wasn't merely significant for Zorathian society but potentially crucial for the survival of multiple realities facing convergence. This revelation coincided with increasingly erratic behavior in Eric's transformed physiology. His neural patterns began manifesting quantum entanglements previously thought impossible in biological systems, creating temporary bridges between parallel dimensions. During these episodes, he experienced fragmented glimpses of alternate realities, some showing thriving interspecies empires, others depicting catastrophic failures of cross-dimensional cooperation. The strain of these occurrences pushed his body to its limits, with both human and crystalline medical teams struggling to stabilize his condition. Lady Xyranath, recognizing the implications of these developments, initiated secret communications with other ancient civilizations known for their mastery of dimensional science. The responses she received painted a picture of approaching cosmic realignment, a periodic event where barriers between realities weakened, allowing for both unprecedented opportunities and existential threats. Several of these elder species expressed particular interest in Eric's unique condition, seeing it as a potential key to navigating the coming convergence. Meanwhile, Admiral Zhuyanthao launched a calculated strike against border outposts, framing the attacks as necessary defensive measures against alleged Vorthani aggression. His actions triggered a chain reaction of military posturing that threatened to spiral out of control, with traditionalist factions using the crisis to justify their calls for a return to isolationist policies. However, embedded agents within the fleet, many of whom had come to respect Eric's diplomatic skills, began leaking information that contradicted the Admiral's narrative, creating cracks in his support base. The situation reached a critical point when a routine diplomatic mission to investigate border skirmishes resulted in an unexpected dimensional breach. A patrol ship, accompanied by both Zorathian and human crew members, partially phased into an adjacent reality, returning with equipment and personnel exhibiting impossible combinations of properties from both dimensions. Analysis of these anomalies revealed that the resonance patterns generated by Eric's condition had somehow stabilized the breach, preventing a complete collapse of dimensional boundaries. This incident forced a dramatic shift in priorities across the Empire. The Crystal Conclave, traditionally resistant to change, began reinterpreting ancient prophecies in light of current events, finding patterns that suggested the current crisis had been foretold by their ancestors. Progressive factions seized this opportunity to advocate for accelerated integration of human and Zorathian technologies, arguing that only through unity could they prepare for the coming dimensional convergence. Scientific breakthroughs followed in rapid succession as researchers from multiple species collaborated on understanding the physics of dimensional resonance. Eric's condition, once viewed as a medical anomaly, became the foundation for developing new technologies capable of stabilizing dimensional boundaries. These advances proved crucial when subsequent breaches began occurring with increasing frequency, threatening to overwhelm conventional containment methods. Lady Xyranath and Eric found themselves at the center of this multidimensional drama, their bond serving as both anchor and catalyst for change. The Queen's leadership style evolved to incorporate quantum decision-making principles, while Eric's unique perspective helped bridge the gap between linear human thinking and the probabilistic nature of Vorthani consciousness. Together, they began crafting a new framework for governance that accounted for the fluid nature of reality itself. As preparations for the coming dimensional convergence intensified, unexpected allies emerged from within the Empire's traditionalist factions. Some high-ranking nobles, witnessing the effectiveness of cross-dimensional cooperation, began advocating for a modified version of the Queen's original reform proposals. Their support, while conditional, represented a crucial shift in the balance of power that could potentially unite the Empire in facing the larger threat. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just the future of the Zorathian Empire but the fate of multiple realities. With quantum storms gathering at the edges of known space, and dimensional barriers growing increasingly unstable, the choices made by Eric and Lady Xyranath would reverberate across infinite possibilities. The convergence of species, dimensions, and consciousness approached its climax, promising either unprecedented unity or catastrophic dissolution, with the Queen and her human companion standing at the eye of this multidimensional storm. As the dimensional convergence approached, Eric and Lady Xyranath worked tirelessly to unite their fractured empire under a shared vision of cooperation. The Vorthani Collective, impressed by the resilience and ingenuity displayed by both humans and Zorathians, offered their assistance in stabilizing the growing breaches between dimensions. Their amorphous forms shimmered with quantum energy as they integrated themselves into the crisis response teams, their probabilistic nature proving invaluable for predicting and mitigating potential disasters. The turning point came during an emergency summit held aboard the Luminara's Embrace, where representatives from across the Zorathian Empire gathered alongside emissaries from neighboring systems and the enigmatic Vorthani. Eric, his neural pathways now fully stabilized through a combination of human medical expertise and crystalline resonance technology, stood beside Lady Xyranath as she addressed the assembly. His presence, once a source of division, had become a symbol of unity, his unique bond with the Queen demonstrating that differences could be bridged without sacrificing identity. Admiral Zhuyanthal, realizing the futility of resistance in the face of overwhelming evidence, made a surprising move. In a gesture of reconciliation, he stepped forward during the summit and publicly acknowledged the necessity of change. "Our strength lies not in isolation," he declared, his crystalline form shifting to reflect humility, but in adaptation. "Let us embrace this moment as an opportunity to redefine what it means to be Zorathian." This act of contrition resonated deeply within the court, softening the stance of even the most ardent traditionalists. With tensions easing, the focus shifted to preparing for the convergence itself. Under Eric's guidance, a coalition of scientists, diplomats, and military leaders devised a plan to use the resonance patterns generated by his condition as a template for creating dimensional anchors, devices capable of stabilizing breaches on a massive scale. These anchors would be deployed at key points throughout the Empire, forming a network that could prevent catastrophic collapses while allowing controlled interaction between realities. The day of the convergence arrived amidst a flurry of activity. Quantum storms raged at the edges of space, their chaotic energies threatening to overwhelm the fragile stability of the known universe. As the first wave of breaches began to appear, the dimensional anchors activated, their crystalline cores glowing with a light that seemed to harmonize all who witnessed it. Eric, standing at the heart of the operation aboard the flagship, served as a living conduit, his consciousness temporarily expanding to encompass multiple dimensions simultaneously. Lady Xyranath watched him with a mixture of pride and concern, her crystalline form casting prismatic reflections across the command deck. She had feared losing him to the vastness of the multiverse, but instead, she found herself connected to him more deeply than ever before. Through their bond, she experienced glimpses of alternate realities where their struggles had ended differently. Some triumphant, others tragic, but none as hopeful as the one unfolding before them. As the convergence reached its peak, something extraordinary happened. The combined efforts of the anchors, guided by Eric's resonance patterns, triggered a phenomenon unforeseen by even the Vorthani, a universal stabilization effect. Instead of collapsing or fragmenting, the dimensional barriers began to merge seamlessly, creating a new reality that incorporated elements from countless possibilities. The result was breathtaking, a cosmos richer and more vibrant than any single dimension could have been alone. In the aftermath, the Zorathian Empire emerged transformed. Traditionalists and progressives alike marveled at the beauty of their evolved society, where crystalline structures now coexisted harmoniously with organic life. Humans, once viewed as mere curiosities, were embraced as equals, their contributions celebrated as integral to the Empire's survival. Lady Xyranath formally established a dual leadership model, naming Eric as co-regent, an unprecedented move that signaled a new era of collaboration. For Eric and Lady Xyranath, personal happiness mirrored the triumph of their people. Their bond, strengthened by the trials they had endured, blossomed into a love that transcended species and dimensions. They built a life together in a palace redesigned to reflect their union. Crystalline towers intertwined with lush gardens, a testament to the harmony between their worlds. Even Lord Valen Thor, once their fiercest critic, came to accept their relationship, finding solace in serving as a trusted advisor to the royal couple. The legacy of their journey extended far beyond the borders of the Zorathian Empire. News of their success inspired other civilizations to pursue similar paths of integration, fostering a golden age of interstellar cooperation. The Vorthani, grateful for the stabilization of their own reality, forged lasting alliances with both humans and Zorathians, sharing knowledge and resources to ensure mutual prosperity. Years later, as Eric stood beside Lady Xyranath on a balcony overlooking a city that shimmered with the light of countless stars, he reflected on how far they had come. From a humble slave presented to an alien queen, he had risen to become a beacon of hope for entire galaxies. And yet, none of it would have mattered without the love they shared, a love that had defied odds, bridged divides, and ultimately saved worlds. "Look," Lady Xyranath whispered, her voice resonating with warmth as she gestured toward the horizon. A new star had appeared in the sky, its light pulsing in perfect harmony with the rhythms of the universe. It was a reminder that even in the vastness of space, connection was possible, and that sometimes the smallest spark could ignite the brightest future.